Hey, welcome to Lolly Love and Life. I am so glad you took the time to join me today. Isn't it wonderful to become a mom? I know there's a lot of you out there that struggle and have not had that opportunity yet. But those that have, isn't it such a blessing that we become a mom? It's just a whole new world for us. And I remember when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, I wasn't going to have kids. That was just I wasn't going to have kids. I had babysat all my young adult life, and I just didn't want to have children. But then once you were pregnant, I had all the morning sickness. I went through all those things, but carrying that baby, what a blessing. What a miracle to be able to have a baby growing inside of you. And, back then we didn't find out the birth, if it was going to be a boy or a girl. We just didn't find those things out. You waited till they were born. And so I did the neutral colors of yellow and green and, of course, blue in there, but I just didn't worry. Whatever we have, we're going to be blessed. And so that moment, when I went into labor, my water actually broke, which was kind of cool. I didn't have to worry about having that done. Got up to go to the restroom, and I was walking back to bed. I was like, uh-oh, something's happening here. And it's in the middle of February in Connecticut, freezing cold. Remember how cold it is in Connecticut. And so I got my husband up. I was like, okay, it's time. And so I wasn't in any pain right then, but I was nervous because my water broke. What do I do next? And so we got out to go get in the car. And remember, it's cold. The cars wouldn't unlock. So we had to get hot water to pour over the keyholes to get it to unlock. We get in there, get to the hospital. Now remember, 3 days before, I had fallen outside on pavement. My knee was tore up. My ankle was twisted. So I go in the hospital, and they think I'm there because of my bum knee and leg. I'm like, nope, I'm in labor. So they take me upstairs. They wrap my foot because they knew I was in pain with that. And so they wrapped it up for me so I wouldn't be putting a lot of pressure on it, and got me settled in a room. And the labor started. And as I started, my doctor got worried about his weight and his shoulders being too wide to come through the birthing canal. So they sent me down for an x-ray while I'm in labor. Okay, x-rays aren't fun anyway, getting on and off that table. But when you're in labor, that's not fun either. Made it worse. So we did the x-ray, and I told the doctor, I was like, look, I'm not having a C-section. I went through these birthing classes, and I'm going to do it that way. And he's like, well, I think you can do it, but we're going to have to be real careful as he's coming through the canal and out that we don't split. I was like, okay, whatever, I've got this. And so they get me back to my room, and we get all set. And of course, labor started intensifying, and things were getting rocking and rolling. And by this time, it's getting close to 2:00. By 2, I think it was like 2:56, something like that, he made his grand entrance, and he came out quick. And he had a little place on his head where they were using the forceps to hold him back. So I pushing too hard, too fast. But what a cutie. Oh my goodness. He was 8 pounds, 14 ounces. Amazing looking little baby. I mean, just handsome and dark hair, just as cute as ever. And I was just in tears. I couldn't believe I had a boy. I wanted a boy. I was so excited that it was a boy. And our stay at the hospital was, you don't go home real quick anymore. Back then you didn't. You stayed. And so I had him, and then another girl came in. We were 4 of us in a room. And another girl came in. My last name was Delfino. Her last name was Alfino. You talk about these nurses being on top of it, making sure that they handed us the right baby. They would double check the wrist, they'd double check the baby's name. And we started laughing because her baby was nothing but 5 pounds and 10 ounces or something like that. And here's my baby, 8 pounds and 14 ounces. I said, I don't think we're going to get confused on whose baby this is, but they had to be, I mean, I appreciated what they did in making sure we had our baby. And back then, your baby didn't stay in the room with you. They wanted you to rest. So they'd come in for feeding, they'd come in to be with you for a while, and then they would take them back to the nursery. So we did that. I think I was in 4 days, and then we were getting ready to go home. Well, he was jaundice, so they had to keep him, I think, 2 days longer, which was awful. I couldn't stand it not coming home with him. And you couldn't stay, so we would go back and feed and, and see him. And then he got to come home, and what a day that was to bring that precious baby home. My mom and dad had gotten in town. They drove like crazy to get there through snow and everything. And just to have them there with us was so fun. And them to get to meet their first grandson. He was just the easiest going baby. And you talk about happy, self-content, never had to, worry about always holding him or doing. Of course, I held him all the time because that's what I wanted. But he took his naps. He slept all night. He was just so good. And could sit him in his chair, and I could walk out of the room. He wouldn't cry. But he was just a sweetheart. And, of course, as he grew, I just loved watching him turn into the awesome man that he is today. Just so fun. So a couple of years later, I was pregnant again. And, of course, again, we didn't find out the birth of what the baby was going to be. We waited till birth. That's just, again, how we did things back then. I chose light colors again for things. And I didn't go into labor, but I had a doctor the whole 9 months, and he was going to be going out of town the date of my birth, the due date. And I was like, man, I want you to deliver her because you've been with me this whole time. And so he came in and he said, okay, how about Tuesday night? Come in at midnight and we'll induce you. Okay, great. Sounds good. So we go in. They get me hooked up to all the stuff, and they're like, it's going to be probably tomorrow afternoon sometime that you'll have her. And I said, okay, fine. And, laid there and kind of just anticipating, the contractions and then not taking any medications again. I didn't do anything I went natural again because I'd gone through the classes. And so we did that. And I guess about 6:30, they come in to check me. And he's like, well, you're moving along a lot faster than we thought you would. And as the nurse started to walk out the door, I was like, I'm ready to push. She came back. She's like, yeah, the baby's head's right there. And the doctor had just gone to lay down for a nap because the poor guy had been delivering babies. And so they hurried up and called him. And the nurse is sitting there holding the baby, not letting it come out right quickly before he got there. And as soon as he sat down, she was born. It was a girl. And boy, I cried and cried and cried. I had a girl. I got my boy and a girl. And it was so unlikely for me to have a girl because of all the boys in the family. So that was such a blessing to have a beautiful, beautiful little girl. She was 7 pounds, 11 ounces, just precious. And we named her Tina. And Tina Nicole, she's just a beautiful, beautiful child. Now, temperament, different than her brothers. She was my needy girl. She always liked Mama to be right there. Don't walk out of the room. She would not like it. Don't stop rocking the little chairs. She would start crying. But that was okay. That was her and who she was. I'm so thankful that God blessed me with 2 amazing children. Mama loves them to the core. We have our good days and bad days, but I love them. And I'm so thankful God blessed me to be their mom.